What's that noise, kitty? What's that? What's that noise? What was that? Boy, they're just burning that jet fuel. Okay. What is that noise? It's crazy, crazy. There we go. Jump down that way. There we go, kitty.
Towels are safe.
Stickers, got one from Alaska and Fort Worth, France, Mexico. And I've uploaded 6 shows by 3 o'clock today and edited them, and they're all current today. So it's actually purely a real daily vlog. But I won't always be able to do that, but I was able to do it today. All right, Steffens. Well, ooh, a sandwich. All right. There's Linda, and I'm Cole Spivey, both Spiveys. Today, I uploaded 6 shows, all edited shows with intros by 3 o'clock p.m. You're looking at all of them today. I could have broken a record for edited shows. Those are edited shows that are entertaining to a certain degree, with an intro, a middle, and an end, with a theme and a proper title. Linda's being funny. And all 6 shows were edited and uploaded all in one day by 3 p.m. So we got up by 8 o'clock, went out, found the footage. Most of them Botanic Gardens, other stuff. Went to my home, I went where I kind of grew up in Haltom. My old school, had stories about everything. Got all 6 shows up. All of them are great shows within 3 p.m. today, and all edited. They're all edited vlogs through iMovie. That could have broke a record today. I could have broke one. And also I watched Casey Neistat's New York video, YouTube video about the marathon. About how he got beat up at the marathon or something like that. But, and then Ashton Kutcher was in it. Ashton Kutcher was at the marathon. This was November 5th, though. This was like 5 days ago. This is current vlogging today. So whatever comes up before midnight today, I could possibly break a record for edited vlogs. Oh, and by the way, when I trained to be an actor in New York, when I trained to be an actor in Hollywood, well, I also trained in New York, but when I was trained to be an actor in Hollywood, I worked out of the house of Tom Noble. And Tom Noble directed Witness. Met him too. Saw him pick up his newspaper. Well, he did not direct Witness, I'm sorry. He edited Witness, but he got an Oscar. I think it was the only one that got a big Oscar on Witness with Harrison Ford. So Tom Noble was the editor. So probably some of that wore off on me or something. So that's why I'm so incredibly quick at editing. So anybody who's making a movie, David Fincher, I wouldn't say Scorsese, he uses Shoemaker. But any director out there, film director, they're interested in a great editor, look at my stuff. I can get it up there really quick, and I'll charge you, I'll charge half the cost of what the other guy's asking. All right, we're off. Well, the second part. So today was kind of a miracle day, as I say, November 10th. It's a good day. I did 6 edited vlogs, all before 3 p.m. and today's content only. So that means I woke up at 8, we went out, dropped Linda off, went to Haltom, did some drops there, talked about my childhood stories and a novella I wrote called Catnappers, which I hope to turn into a movie someday. And then did some other stuff at the Botanic Gardens. Now, they don't say the Botanical Gardens. They say the Botanic Gardens, which I did that, like 3 or 4 shows. By the time I had got everything up, before we could even go for the second part of the shift, I had 6 edited vlogs already posted. So I must have broke some kind of record. But, you know, live streams are different because live streams, you know, you don't sit there and edit. So I have to go back, while I take a break and do 2 hours of editing, send up the shows within like 30-40 minutes. So the internet speed is actually, I don't know, I don't really ever test it. The one at IHOP internet speed is great, though. You can set up a show on that one, probably a 40-minute show if you wanted to. But I'm not IHOP, I'm sorry, not IHOP, Old South Pancake House is what I was talking about. I always call Old South Pancake House, I always call it IHOP on mistake. Whatever you did for the least you did for me. So what I do is, when I say IHOP, sometimes I mean Old South Pancake House. I hate how I do that. I always call it IHOP. But it's Old South. It just comes out IHOP. I don't know why. Anyway, it's a pretty good day today. Yeah, I'm real careful not to hit slow-mo. Sometimes I notice in the middle of my vlogs, I don't watch all the editing. All of a sudden it goes into a slow-mo. It is artsy, but a lot of times I'm just like, just leave it. But, I use slow-mo sometimes when I'm more conscious about it, like if a flock of seagulls are taking off and I'm on the beach, then I'll hit slow-mo and run up to the seagulls and, you know, get the slow-mo section. It's kind of exciting. Gas for $3.19, but I found this for $3 even, and I thought it was pretty cool. So $3 even at a Murphy's. So we'll give it a try. Not a whole lot, but probably like another $5 maybe. I was trying to get at least 170 miles in, so maybe another gallon or 2. What's really cool about Murphy's too is they do a $1 refill. That's a cool Bluebird. Pick up this hot sub and drop it off at your doorstep. Coming back to Tony's. So back in the day, in the old country, I got a story about Tony's, and I went in there one time to get a pizza job. The guy found out I wanted to be an actor, so he's like, you know, Cole. So what I told the guy was I went into Tony's. This was like when I was maybe, I don't know, 22, 23 years old. And it was a little Italian restaurant that was right by my friend's house, which was right by Channel 11 Tower, right over there in, I guess it's Fort Worth. You know, I was going to Texas Wesleyan. I gotta go to this Arby's and pick up a sandwich. And I said, yeah, you want to be an actor? It's like, you know, Cole, I did the whole actor thing. I went out, I got a headshot. This guy it sounded like he was from New York. I got a headshot. I did the whole thing. And then I got into the food business. So now I serve pizzas. So you got to ask yourself, do you want to be an actor? Or do you want to serve pizza and pasta and Italian food? And I was like, well, I want to be an actor. Yeah. I was like, then go be an actor. I was like, well, it's really not that easy. Sometimes we have to have daytime jobs and stuff. I mean, even some famous actors, they go out back and they work in daytime field where they have regular jobs for a while because they go dry, you know, it can happen. But, you know, the camera's pointed right at me right now, so, you know. But at the time, I couldn't say, well, I got my own YouTube show. You know, I wouldn't have said it that way, but I didn't know about YouTube back then. This was like 1995, 94, 95, probably 1995. Maybe 94, maybe 95. We didn't have YouTube back then. We had to go to community theater and do stuff if we wanted to tell a story. I'm at Arby's now. So another true story is when I got to New York City and I was doing off-Broadway and acting and working with the Actor Studio and famous people and all this stuff, what I ended up doing was one of my big big auditions coming out of the actor studio, or at least the new school, actor studio drama school at the New School University. One of the big auditions that I went on was The Restaurant. And the guy who got it camped out the night before and had a broken arm, or it looked like he had a broken arm. But he got it. He was there first, and Rocco Shapirto, I think was his name. He was a famous chef in New York City. He also went out to Vegas too. He had his own television show. This was like NBC or something like that. It was a pretty big deal. It was called The Restaurant. It was only on for like half a season. And I saw it. It was pretty good. I figured they could have gone further with it. But it was about people waiting tables in New York City. And I don't even think the guy that got it had waiting table experience. And he had a broken arm. He had a cast. But he was the first in line, and he had camped out that night 6 or 7 hours in, cold New York City. And I was staying with another actor friend, and he told me to come in to audition. So I flew in. And I brought all my stuff, like as if I was going to get the role right then and stay. But I didn't get it. So I met Rocco Shapirto. I got to shake his hand, and I got to. I don't even know. We didn't even have a monologue prepared. You know how like you think when you're going to do a television show or something, whatever, you'd have like a monologue prepared. You have this monologue prepared. We weren't even asked to do a monologue. They just talked to us for a few seconds and then moved on to the next person. It was very quick auditioning. There were hundreds of people outside this one restaurant in New York City. I couldn't tell you the restaurant. Couldn't tell you in a million years. Don't even know the name of the restaurant. But it was a restaurant. And it was on television. And it was a pretty good show. It was kind of like a reality show, but just for waiting tables. And that was the first big one that I did in New York City. And then, of course, I did get on other stuff. Like I auditioned for The Mole. You remember that old show, The Mole? Also auditioned for The Fifth Wheel. It was another show. I did get on The X-Files. I did get on The Majestic, or the movie The Majestic with Jim Carrey. And I did get on set with Jake Gyllenhaal and Dustin Hoffman, A Moonlight Mile, but I didn't get in the thing. But I did get in the movie and The Majestic. I got in the scene. You have to, as an actor, as an extra, you have to learn the craft of getting on camera. Just because the camera's rolling and you think that the camera's pointing at you, you don't always know. Some actors know how to do it. And a lot of actors, tons of actors, I can name hundreds of actors, started off doing background and extra work. Mine I worked for was Cinex, but there's like Central Casting. It's the same thing. It was called Cinex, and I worked for them. And boy, they called you just like you were a substitute teacher. They call you every day. With the Jim Carrey one that I got on film, I got to work with Frank Darabont and Jim Carrey. That one, they cut our hair 3 or 4 days before the actual shoot. And I was arrested in Long Beach on a fake sting by corrupt police officers because of a thing called the Police and Sheriff Support Fund, which was a scam, or they said was a scam. The Long Beach Police Department said it was a scam, but it was operating out of Los Angeles at the time. It was just an album, like like an album that had articles about police officers in Los Angeles. My sister was actually at the time, that's a different story, but she had close relations with one of them. So it winded me up in jail, and never understood why. I'm going to go back and sue. I'm going to sue for false arrest. I'm going to sue the police officer for basically messing with my business, and for false arrest, for being corrupt. It was everyone. I mean, like everybody told me the Long Beach police were corrupt. Everybody told me LAPD are corrupt, and I didn't really believe them. I was like, wow, really? Then I saw LA Confidential. I was like, oh, the movie LA Confidential, they are corrupt. They're corrupt, big time corrupt. And the Police and Sheriff Support Fund was an ad that the police probably had someone else put into an actor magazine. It was like backstage. And it said, you want to be an actor? Here's a job for you. A big old, huge advertisement. You call the number and they're like, yeah, we're hiring for the police and sheriff support fund. It was all tied up with the police in Long Beach so they can make more money. They profiteer off arresting you. A police officer makes money off arresting you. They shouldn't. That's one thing Biden needs to work on, is they need to stop doing that. There's a bunch of birds there, but not enough. But what I'm trying to say is this: be careful. They will try to make money off of you. And when they threw me in jail, I was in jail for about 17 hours in Long Beach jail. I was interviewed by a detective that had a British accent. True story. He said, Cole, we're going to put you a wire on you. I don't know if he was changing his voice for his own protection, but they wanted to put a wire on me and send me back to LA where the office was for the Police and Sheriff Support Fund. This is over a non-profit charity that the guy was running. And you know, they said they had raided his office before and all this stuff. Basically, I was put in because of a scam, supposedly. But when I found out, and I did the research on it later on when I got back to Euless, when I got back home, I found it was all legit. They were just making money off people. It's false arrest case. Those police officers are probably in jail or even in prison for corrupting others and for not operating under the realm of the law. How they technically got me was he called me on my cell phone. I had my first cellular phone, and he called me, and I answered the phone. He's like, yeah, I'm at the Acapulco Lounge. I'm a bartender there. I'd like to put an ad in the Police and Sheriff Support Fund. And I was like, okay, how much? We have ads for $250 or $500. And he called me in, and I at first I didn't have time. I was too busy auditioning. I didn't have time to meet up with him, but he kept calling me and bugging me. Yeah, I'm a bartender at the Acapulco Lounge in Long Beach, like on 1st Street or something like that. I was like, okay, listen, I'll go down there and meet with you. But let me tell you, I can't take cash. I'm not supposed to take cash. Because one thing the guy told me was don't take cash because you have to have a certain business license to take cash. I get there and the bartender comes back, or the bartender comes around the bar. And he goes, all I have is cash. Is that okay? I said, really, I can't accept cash. I told him that. This officer should be in prison. I said, okay, what I'll do this one time is I'll take the cash and turn it into a personal cashier's check and then give it to my boss in Los Angeles. Because I can't bring him cash. All I got is cash. He gave me the $500. I took the $500. I walked out of the bar. They had a guard dog there, one of those German Shepherds. And then they arrested me. And I went in and I saw a judge and everything. But I was there for 17 hours. My grandma bailed me out. And when I left, this was in 2001. When I left the next day, I barely made it to set, the Jim Carrey set. I was able to get on set and get it done. That was called a false arrest and false imprisonment. I had to pay $200 and do 28 days hard labor. And after that, a few months later, I was in New York at one of the best acting schools in the world called the Actor Studio Drama School, the same school Bradley Cooper went to and graduated over nothing. Okay, so they need to put an ad in those papers, say beware of corrupt police officer department sting, because they are corrupt as hell, man. That's when I realized something was going on. Then I watched LA Confidential. I watched LA Confidential, the movie, and realized these people are corrupt, and they're corrupt in every town. So beware, because there's nothing more corrupt on the face of the earth than a fucking police officer. Amen. My suggestion to all actors and artists and stuff is when they slap the cuffs on you, get their badge. So think of the word BRAT. Get their badge, their rank, their association, and their title. Make sure that name is given and publish it on social media. Also, they have apps now where you can file a complaint against an officer. Go straight to the police department and file your complaint. Make sure you get the badge number correct and the full name of the police officer. They will lose at their job. For survival skills for an artist, when you're writing a police officer's information down, use a pen. You want to write it down first. Don't try to put it in an electronic device and stuff. I've had police officers make me erase footage in front of them, which is actually illegal. Some footage that an officer made me erase at the emergency room at Harris had to do with an incident that happened to Linda. Linda also was attacked by a state trooper too. This is a true story if you do the research on it. Now, you want to write it down on a piece of paper, because if they try to shred that piece of paper, a camera or something like that can get the evidence of them trying to cover up evidence of the crime that they try to commit against you. So you want to write it down if you can, then put it into a device. They're not allowed to confiscate anything. Just think of if the officer confiscated everybody's phone when George Floyd was being murdered by a police officer, and he said, "Okay, everybody give me your phones and stuff." And as long as he got everybody's phone, then he would have got away with that murder. He'd still be a police officer today. But because people can send up social media so quick. Now, another thing too, right? If you're witnessing a police officer killing somebody or choking someone, send the footage up to social media immediately. Immediately. Okay, send it up as quick as possible. It's very important that you do that. Most of them are murderers, rapists, and criminals. And a lot of them are going to prison. Actually, in my book, if I become president of the United States, I'll make them drive around with light tasers and basically a cheap walkie-talkie, like those kinds you get at Toys R Us, right? They'll have the worst equipment, the worst uniforms. They'll dress in rags, and I'll make them volunteer what they do, okay? They'll have to volunteer to do what they do. They will not get any money from the state or federal government at all. Not a single penny. Okay? I'm not talking about defunding. I'm talking about making them volunteer. Okay? So if they want to do what they can do, they can sleep on the fucking, you know what? You know? They can find a way to do it. Okay? What they need to do is get real jobs. Okay? They need to get real jobs, and they can volunteer their time. In my society, an officer would only work a day. Then that's it. Then they would go off and have their own job. They would have that. I would make them go out and get real jobs. They wouldn't be called boys anymore. They would grow up and they'd get real jobs. And a volunteer person would be able to do it for one day, and then that shift would go to another person the next day. And then that person would go back and work. So it'd be a volunteer job, just like pastors at a church. Ministers at a church should be volunteer only. If they want to get paid by their flock, then they need to get a job, okay? And stop asking money from people. And stop being corrupt. Because a minister is about as corrupt as a police officer in my book.